10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Melinda Akilami.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Army troops and DSS operatives arrest one person and recover various weapons after raiding a camp operated by members of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra in Delta State. Another extrajudicial killing sparks protest in Anambra State. Family demands justice following the death of 24-year-old Chidube Ezenwa while in police custody in Okozu. The Chief of Army Staff, Major General Torid Lagbaja, launches emergency response under Operation Safe Haven in Plateau State, seeks cooperation of residents to restore order in the violence-prone local government areas. And thousands of people evacuated from their homes and hotels on the Greek island of Rhodes as wildfires spread.
On sports news tonight, world champions United States and European champions England launched the Women's World Cup campaigns with victories over debutants Vietnam and Haiti.
Of 63 BDE garrison under the 6th Division of the Nigerian Army and operatives of the Department of State Services DSS today destroyed a hideout said to belong to pro-Biafra agitators in Delta State. The camp is said to be operated by members of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, and its security wing, the Eastern Security Network, ESN. According to the Army spokesperson, Brigadier General Oyema Nwachukwu, the troops conducted a raid on the area, which he described as fortified and located in the middle of a forested high ground. He said the troops overpowered the IPOB fighters in the exchange of fire that ensued, compelling them to abandon their hideout. One of the fleeing fighters was captured, while 5 AK-47 rifles, 3 pump-action automatic rifles, 1 G3 rifle and 1 single-barrel gun, amongst other items, were recovered by the security operatives. In Anambra State, the death of 24-year-old Chidube Ezenwa while in custody of the Rapid Response Squad in Okozu has sparked outrage in Aguleri, a community in Anambra East local government area. Chidube was arrested on June the 24th this year alongside 3 other youths on the allegation of violence at a hotel in Aguleri. But while in police custody, he was said to have died after being beaten by some inmates. His parents are demanding justice as they accuse the President General of the community of being responsible for the unfortunate incident.
These women from Aguleri community in Anambra East local government area sing in anger and pain over the death of 24-year-old Chidube Ezenwa. Chidube, a trader in Asaba, traveled home to Anambra State to sympathize with his friend who was hospitalized. Unfortunately, he was arrested by the police alongside 3 other youth on the orders of the President General of the community on account of a violent act in a hotel. They were later transferred to the Police Rapid Response Squad, Okuzu, in Oyi local government area. Chidube's father, Mr. Sunday Iwoba, is inconsolable. His son was the breadwinner and a beacon of hope for his family. He demands his release, dead or alive.
I asked the divisional police officer woman, where do you carry my son to? He said me that you carry my son to SAS officer at Okuzu. I'm not seeing my son. Other people are now come out. took four of them. 3 are now out. My son, I did not see my son, Chidube Ezenwa. That is where I cried to worldwide.
One of the youth arrested alongside Chidube, now released, corroborates Mr. Iwoba's story as he narrates what happened at the RRS Okuzu.
The police arrested and beat us up. The next day, we were transferred to RRS Akuzu and stayed in custody through Monday to Tuesday. The place was overpopulated with no ventilation and the heat was unbearable. Chidube was in pain and cried for water. One person gave him water, but he kept on begging for more. An inmate near him was holding water, and so he snatched it and drank. The inmate did not take offense, but I still appealed to the inmate not to worry that tomorrow I will replace it. At that point, 4 other inmates pounced on Chidube and started beating him. By morning, he was unconscious. So the IPO asked me to identify who the perpetrators were, and I did.
All the family wants is for their son to be handed to them.
His son, whether dead or alive, they haven't known. If he's dead, in police really, then let them see it. Let them see the cops and know the next level to take.
The President General, who is accused of ordering the arrest, denies the allegations, but confirms that the young man has died.
Subsequently, we are having meetings on how they will come back home. Okay. And that was why we went to see the Igwe of Abuja and other persons. Their family members were at the meeting. We now agreed that the following day, that the president of Anya, that's the National Youth Association, will take them to SAS to tell the police that we want to settle the matter at home. It was at that point that we, got to know that Chidube died in the cell.
As the blame shifts to the police, the command's public relations officer condemns the unfortunate incident and gives assurances that the perpetrator have been identified.
For us, justice is justice anywhere in the world. What we have done is to make sure that the persons that are fingered in this act are made to face the law. In as much as 3 of them that are involved are already in custody for a particular crime they committed. For this they committed, we have also added it to their charges, and just like I mentioned to you, they have been arraigned.
Although the police have promised to release Chidube's body to his family, the people say the incident of a suspect dying in police custody is worrisome, especially as his alleged offense was a bailable one.
Meanwhile, in Plateau State, the Army is giving assurances that residents of some troubled communities in the state may soon begin to sleep with both eyes closed. This comes as the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Flourish Africa, has flagged off an emergency response under the Joint Security Task Force, Operation Safe Haven, to tackle the security challenges in the affected local government areas of Mangu, Riom, and Bakin Ladi. The Army Chief restated the commitment of troops to combating the criminals that have been terrorizing the communities and urged the residents to cooperate with the Army.
The Nigerian Army is not overwhelming in any respect. Yes, the crisis on the plateau has been on for over 10 years. But the Nigerian Army, including the other services and other security agencies, have been responding to this crisis. I also need to bring to the fore the fact that in combating any crisis, is usually juggling what we call the three trinity in the military. That is the people, the government, and the military. So it's a careful balancing act. And so if the military is working very effectively and the people do not cooperate with the military, the results will be negative. And if the government do not. So I ask for the cooperation of all stakeholders in Plateau with the troops. Give them information, trust them, respect them. They will respond. Within a short spell, you can see that the situation in Mangu has been brought under control. There's stability in Mangu now. What we want to do is to project out to other parts of Plateau such that there will be peace all around, even beyond Plateau. But the troops are not overwhelmed. They are reacting appropriately, but we need the cooperation of the larger society to be more effective. Be rest assured that these troops under my command will give their very best, and they will stamp out every form of insecurity and bring peace and stability to law-abiding citizens.
From security to other issues now, the people of Ikire in Osun State are now counting their costs following a massive flood that has ravaged the western part of the state. Ikire and its environs witnessed a heavy and continuous downpour in the early hours of today, which lasted for close to 4 hours, blocking minor roads within the town and spilling into the Ife-Ibadan Expressway. Following the disaster, Governor Ademola Adeleke has expressed sympathy, assuring the people of his commitment to addressing the cause of the flood by fast-tracking the state flood prevention plan. In a statement by his spokesperson, Mr. Olawale Rashid, he explained that the governor says that his administration has activated emergency measures to rescue people and livelihood hugely impacted by the flooding, assuring the victims that the government will do all in its capacity to support them. Outside the shores of the country is good news from the Nigerian community in the United Arab Emirates, as multiple reports confirm the blanket restriction on Nigerians seeking work permits is being eased out gradually. Our correspondent Mayowa Adegoke, who has been following the story for the past 2 years now, brings us the latest update.
When the HR sent me the message, it was like, your visa has been approved and change of status too. I was like, wow, I used the dancing emoji.
Tolulope, a Nigerian living in Dubai, shares her good news of getting a work permit and a renewal of a residency in the United Arab Emirates.
So while I was doing the part-time job was when I got to start working with this company. And they liked my job and they actually decided to make new visa for me.
Her story confirms multiple reports that the over 2-year ban on Nigerians seeking new work permits in the country has been eased by the authorities. The ban, which was first reported in June 2021, has resulted in the loss of many jobs and the unplanned exit of many residents who found no legal or financial means to continue staying in the United Arab Emirates. But it appears all that has begun to change for the better, restoring the hopes of thousands of Nigerians who have been living on the edge.
A lot of excitement has been in the midst of the Nigerian community in UAE. It's a good development because this has not happened for the last 2 years. So people are getting it. More people are willing to apply. Some people have been getting across to their companies to check again if they will be able to make the visa for them now.
So far, successful applications have only been reported by female workers, while majority of applications by male residents are reportedly pending or rejected outrightly.
Nobody really knows the criteria they use in giving those they are given or rejecting those that have been rejected.
Damilola, a supervisor at one of the popular Nigerian restaurants in the city, who also recently got her work permit and Emirates ID renewed, says she's able to conduct her personal and work affairs with ease, a reality not shared by some of her friends.
You know, when we go to the metro station and my friends want to hide because they're not comfortable being outside, scared of police. Some people waste a lot of money because these places they're supposed to stroll to, they want to take taxi to instead. It's really difficult, trust me. I'm not in their shoes, but for some reason I feel what they are going through right now.
For the first time in 2 years, thousands of Nigerians in the UAE have a tangible reason to keep hoping that sooner than later, all restrictions will be removed and they can once again do business and work as responsible residents of the United Arab Emirates. From Dubai, Mayowa Adegoke, Channels Television News.
In part 2, after the break, we revisit the silent killer disease that is currently spreading across states of the Federation and which has claimed the lives of at least 89 people since its outbreak. That's in a moment. Join us again.
Yes, the Alert 5 for 5 promo is here again. Now, even more explosive than ever before. Over 90 million naira to be won. You can't afford to miss this season of excitement. To qualify, fund your account with 5,000 naira. Maintain an average account balance of at least 5,000 naira monthly. Make a minimum of 5 transactions monthly on Alert or star 945 hash. And just like that, you could be 1 million naira richer. So, download Alert today or transact without internet on star 945 hash. Anytime, anywhere. Terms and conditions apply. Wema Bank, with you all the way.
Fresh Your Mega Billions promo could make us millionaires.
Yes, buy Fresh Your 1 liter pack. Open the cap to reveal the unique PIN. Send the unique PIN to 8011 to get free instant airtime and an SMS notifying you of your automatic entry into a raffle draw, where you could be one of 10 lucky winners of the grand prize of 1 million naira each or 100,000 naira each. You also stand a chance to win an instant cash prize of 10,000 naira or 5,000 naira daily. Fresh Your Mega Millions promo. Bring home the goodness.
Whether you're a homemaker or a fashionista, or an entrepreneur, or a traveler. No matter who or where you are, there's a Keystone card made just for you.
Visit any Keystone branch nearest to you or download the Key mobile app to get your card today. Keystone Bank. We grow together.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. Army troops and DSS operatives arrest one person and recover various weapons after raiding a camp operated by members of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra in Delta State. Another extrajudicial killing sparks protest in Anambra State. Family demands justice following the death of 24-year-old Chidube Ezenwa while in police custody. The Chief of Army Staff, Major General Torid Lagbaja, launches emergency response in Plateau State, seeks cooperation of residents to restore order in the violence-prone local government areas. And thousands of people evacuated from their homes and hotels on the Greek island of Rhodes as wildfires spread. To health issues now, diphtheria is a silent killer disease that is currently wreaking havoc in some states of the Federation. Its occurrence has been reported in at least 20 states, and the Federal Capital Territory affected at least 836 individuals and killed about 89. Our next report provides additional insight into this ravaging disease.
It's quiet, not talked about so much, yet dangerous and currently sending dozens of people, mainly children, to the hospital. The disease is called diphtheria, a bacterial infection that is now wreaking havoc across the country. It is caused by a toxin produced by the bacteria Corynebacterium diphtheria. First confirmed in December 2022 by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, diphtheria infection is gradually becoming a national health concern, with over 836 confirmed cases and 89 deaths recorded in 7 months.
Diphtheria is it has been about since December, and we unfortunately expect more cases to arise in different parts of the country. But why? Because this is related to historical gaps in vaccination coverage. Over 82% of confirmed cases are unvaccinated.
Currently, diphtheria infection has been reported in at least 20 states, including Katsina, Sokoto, Enugu and Lagos states, with Kano State bearing the heaviest burden of this disease. Our efforts to speak to health officials of the Kano State government on the current status of the disease and prevention measures put in place proved abortive. However, we spoke to the Executive Secretary of the Federal Capital Territory Primary Healthcare Board, Dr. Issa, on the prevalence, prevention, and the general status of the disease in the nation's capital.
At the beginning, we had 8 cases. All their samples were taken to the lab. 1 turned out to be positive. And that one died, a 4-year-old boy. And this happened in a community where we call it Tungang Wakili, and within the ward in Amak, but also had cases, similar cases across in Bori Area Council.
Also, the Kaduna State epidemiologist, who was our guest on News Across Nigeria on Friday, confirmed the status of a disease in the state.
We have, as at yesterday, we have 12 in the hospital. Our team are still on the field, and they are still working on the people who are infected, and they are in the process of also moving into the hospital. As at yesterday, this morning, we have 12 on admission.
Diphtheria infection can be spread from one infected person to another through droplets from sneezing or coughing.
Most infections that are transmitted through airways, you need to keep your hand clean, keep your environment clean, and of course, even your dress is clean. Because if you come in contact with the product from individual who is infected, either through table contact, handrails, car handles, steering, and a host of others, you get infected. So hand cleaning, hand sanitizer, environmental sanitation are extremely important.
Diphtheria, though deadly, is a vaccine-preventable disease. It is also covered by the Federal Ministry of Health's routine immunization program, making it a free vaccine for all willing individuals to take and get protected against this deadly disease.
For more perspective on this subject, we're being joined by the Director, Center for Infectious Diseases Research at the Bayero University, Kano, Professor Issa Sadiq Abubakar, joins us from our studios in Abuja. A pleasure having you with us on the News at 10 tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Thank you for having me.
Now, the outbreak of 2 diseases, that's anthrax and diphtheria, have been confirmed by health authorities in the country. While the 2 are deadly, diphtheria appears to be spreading and causing more problems. What do you think has contributed to the rapid spread and death toll?
Yes, as has been said earlier, it's a disease that spreads through the air by droplets and direct contact. And because we are living in a country that has a large population, and a large population of people are highly oblivious of how this disease transmits, it is not surprising that we are having it going from one place to another, more especially that we have a good number of children that have not been fully vaccinated. This is a disease that for you to protect it, a child needs, as part of the routine immunization, to be vaccinated with the pentavalent vaccine 3 times at least. And then in some cases, some children will even need booster doses. But this is a situation we have where, as a result of non-immunization, courtesy of the COVID-19 pandemic that took place 3 years ago and other issues that are militating against successful vaccination of children, it appears that those children who have not been vaccinated happen to be at most risk of getting the disease, and then they are also serving as vehicles for further transmission. And because people are not adhering to the public health measures, it is also compounding the issue. So we now have a situation where the authorities, health authorities and government need to do much more than they are doing right now so as to enlighten the public on the ways that this disease is transmitted, with the hope that people will adhere to the public health measures and then take the necessary action to prevent further spread of the disease.
And Prof, talking about the enlightenment of the public, which you mentioned, can you tell us a bit more about the prevention and the transmission of this disease?
Yes, as it is said earlier, it is a disease that requires direct contact, and then for droplets to be up there in the air, and then other people who especially have not been vaccinated are liable to getting the disease. So with these pathways, it means that we must take measures that will prevent or that will discourage the spread through the droplets. For example, because people who have the disease might be coughing or sneezing, and they are just dropping the droplets into the air, this needs to be discouraged so that people, if they are coughing, they must use like tissue paper or the elbow to cover their mouths and nose so that they will not spread the droplets into the air for others to inhale and then be at risk of contracting the disease. And then hand washing regularly is very, very necessary because we touch so many surfaces. Because it is a disease that can spread just like COVID-19. Of course, most of those measures that we need to take to prevent COVID are applicable here. So we need to regularly wash our hands, and then we should ensure that our environments are clean by washing, by cleaning surfaces, and then we must ensure that we avoid contact with people who have symptoms suggestive of this disease. For example, coughing and sneezing. If we notice that some members of our family are having some of these symptoms, we need to kind of isolate them and avoid further contacts with them to prevent getting infected. And then those who have symptoms, we quickly take them to hospitals because health workers now have a better index of suspicion to diagnose the disease. Because one thing that is very key to the control of the disease is early diagnosis. We detect it early and then the right treatment given to them. So we need to quickly identify this disease at home and take the people to the health facility, and the health workers themselves who need to be protected also will do what is possible to identify the disease and then give the necessary treatment. But something that is very, very, very... Okay.
Okay, Prof, you were about to land.
Yes, something that is very, very important is the issue of immunization, especially the routine immunization needs to be strengthened. If you look at the situation we have, the states that have weak immunization are the states that have higher cases. So people need to be up and doing to improve on our routine immunization from the demand generation side and the supply side so that the immunization coverage will improve, and then hopefully the children will be protected, and then the prevalence of this disease will drastically drop in our country.
So, Prof, if you could just quickly tell us, this is a final question, is Kano a case in point here when you're talking about immunization? Because the records at the NCDC suggest that Kano State bears a huge burden of diphtheria infection. What is the level of awareness in that state?
Well, of course, Kano's population is very large, and we have a number of radio stations, and the health workers there are trying their level best to enlighten the public. But honestly speaking, we need to do much more in bringing enlightenment to the public. The public health component of the Ministry of Health will have to wake up and do much better in bringing the story to the people and then enlightening them, empowering them to take the public health measures necessary to fight the disease, especially also to improve on the routine immunization coverage in the states.
Professor Issa Sadiq Abubakar, Director, Center for Infectious Diseases Research at the Bayero University. A pleasure sharing your thoughts with us on the news at 10 tonight.
Thank you very much indeed.
To political matters, the ruling All Progressives Congress has dismissed claims that the party is engulfed in crisis owing to recent events, notably the resignation of the party's national chairman and national secretary, as well as rumors regarding their possible successors. According to the party's National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Felix Morka, there is no disunity amongst members of the National Working Committee or between the NWC and other critical sections of the party's leadership around the possible successor to the office of National Chairman. He explains further that while individual party leaders and members retain their right to express their personal thoughts and opinions about possible replacement for vacant positions, they do not represent the official position of the NWC or the party. Mr. Morka maintains that succession to senior positions or any other subject will be communicated via the official channels of the APC-NWC. To matters arising from the 2023 general elections, although the exercise has come and gone, the dust raised is yet to settle. That's apart from the various post- and pre-election judicial hearings across the country. The recent final report of the European Union Elections Observer Mission in Nigeria has generated several reactions from members of the public. This final EU Election Observer Mission report on the conduct of the election is the crux of our next report.
It's been over 3 weeks since the European Union Election Observer Mission to Nigeria presented its final report on the conduct of the 2023 general elections. That 92-page report has generated several reactions from the government and members of the public who attempted to dissect the conduct of the government. For some political watchers, the European Union Election Observer Mission report on the 2023 general elections highlights the strengths and weaknesses of the elections and serves as a valuable tool for future reforms.
Our democracy is growing. We're post 20 years after democracy. Our democracy is supposed to be better than this. We've been administering elections since the return of democracy at least more than about 10 times. So it is enough for us to have learned from our mistake and to do things better, and we cannot continue in that trend. This is one of the takeaways I think this report strongly highlighted.
Some of the positive highlights of that report on the 2023 elections include the 2022 Electoral Act, which introduced measures aimed at building stakeholders' trust, the introduction of the bimodal voter accreditation system, which aimed at ensuring the credibility of the elections, as well as commending the electoral umpire for sticking to its schedule for the elections.
A lot of experiences. Well done.
That report also highlighted some institutional and operational deficiencies, including perennial logistic challenges on the part of the electoral body, the inability to transmit results in real time to the IREF during the presidential election, violence prior to and on elections day, voter suppression, excessive pre-election litigations, poor implementation of the legal framework on campaign finance and management, among others. That report drew a quick rejection from the federal government. The president's spokesperson, Mr. Dele Alake, criticized the mission and its report in a statement which read, "We find it preposterous and unconscionable that in this day and age any foreign organization can continue to insist on its own yardstick and assessment as the only way to determine the credibility and transparency of our elections. We can now categorically let Nigerians and the entire world know that we were not unaware of the machinations of the European Union to sustain its largely unfounded bias and claims on the election outcomes." The statement further insists, quote, "For emphasis, we want to reiterate that the 2023 general elections, most especially the presidential election won by President Bola Tinubu and the All Progressives Congress, were credible, peaceful, free, fair, and the best organized general elections in Nigeria since 1999. We strongly reject in its entirety any notion and idea from any organization, group, and individual remotely suggesting that the 2023 election was fraudulent." End of quote. However, the European Union maintains that its interest has always been to enhance the quality of elections in Nigeria.
The missions have offered report, and this is the objective, the purpose of those missions, is to offer reports about what happened and more importantly, to offer recommendations. Now, we don't think that there will be any impact. We have very strong and good relations with the country.
In a similar vein, some political commentators have advised that the government should consider the merits of the report rather than reject it completely.
We are all witness to what happened on February the 25th during the presidential election. Concerns around perennial logistic challenges, the late commencement of polls. The EU report also highlighted that in some places in the southeast, election did not start until like 1 p.m. For me, we shouldn't throw out the baby with the bathwater. I know people have concern that it wouldn't take a foreign body to come out with telling us about the problems we have with our election, but I think sometimes the truth is bitter.
Apart from highlighting the strengths and weaknesses of the 2023 elections, the EU Election Observer Mission also made 23 recommendations, with 6 priority recommendations for future elections. They are: the need to protect the interest of voters through certainty of laws for all stages and aspects of the electoral process; the need to establish a robust operational framework for the independence and integrity of the electoral administration, candidate selection, the appointment of INEC commissioners and resident electoral commissioners; the need to protect the free expression of the will of the voters by establishing a transparent and easily verifiable results processing system with clear rules; afford adequate protection to freedom of expression by developing a comprehensive operational framework that promptly investigates and prosecutes all forms of attack against media practitioners; undertake urgent and robust affirmative action to ensure meaningful women representation; and also to address impunity for electoral offenses through a well-defined interagency coordination with clear rules on non-partisanship. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, at a meeting recently to review the conduct of the 2023 elections with resident electoral commissioners, promised to study all the 54 reports from the observer groups submitted to the commission.
We will give equal prominence to all the reports and review them in a holistic manner to ensure that necessary lessons are learned from their conclusions and recommendations.
The Commission is hoping that the recommendations from these accredited national and international observer groups who monitor the conduct of the 2023 general elections will form the bedrock for future electoral reforms.
Meanwhile, the call to abolish former state governors' pensions has gained traction across the country in recent times. This follows the recent decision by Senator Gbenga Daniel asking the Ogun State government to suspend all benefits accruing to him as former governor. At least 14 sitting senators in the 10th National Assembly are reportedly earning salaries as lawmakers while receiving emoluments as ex-governors. This next report highlights how this adds to the cost of governance while showing the way forward on the issue.
I have asked you, my compatriots, to sacrifice a little more for the survival of our country.
President Bola Tinubu urging Nigerians to make sacrifices and endure the hardship in the country owing to the removal of fuel subsidy. A video of what appears to be a public officer's convoy went viral on social media, stirring criticism across all spheres of the Nigerian society on the need to cut the cost of governance. Fast forward to this tweet from Senator Gbenga Daniel, revealing to the nation and the world his decision to suspend his pension and other benefits accrued to him as a former governor of Ogun State. According to him, this is because of his conscience, moral principle, and ethical code against double emoluments. However, this generated reactions.
Looking at what it has generated, it clearly goes to show that people are not happy with public, figures any longer. People are skeptical that they will not do the right thing. And I think it's time we start to lay good examples. If we want a better society where value system is the order of the day, we must make sure that even in little things, we set good examples so that others can fall in line.
What he said by the letter he wrote to the Ogun State government was to suspend the payment.
not to completely stop the payment. Even if he has done that, then there remains other governors and deputy governors who are still enjoying this benefit also, still amounts to millions of naira on the scarce resources of the state. So while his actions appears to be a right step in the right direction, the best thing, and what would really benefit the people of that state, is to stop the payment of pensions to him completely and to repeal those laws that is by the members of the House of Assembly of Ogun State.
SERAP indicates that 22 states have passed life pension laws for ex-governors and their deputies, providing over 200 million naira. Of these 22 former state governors, 14 of them are serving senators in the 10th National Assembly. In 2019, a high court in Lagos ruled that the federal government should recover pensions collected by ex-governors serving as ministers and members of the National Assembly.
They are in contempt, except that they will argue that they are not parties to that particular decision. But this is public law. This is constitutional law. The court has established the principle. And that principle has not been set aside by a superior court, maybe a court of appeal or the Supreme Court. So that judgment is substantive, valid, and binding. So any governor who continues to act in contravention, any former governor, now a sitting senator or a member of the House of Representatives, who combines his remuneration as a senator without his remuneration as a former governor. I mean, they're in contravention of that judgment. They're in disobedience of that judgment of court. They are liable, to be cited for contempt of court.
The issue of ex-Nigerian governors and deputy governors' pensions and their allowances has continued to raise concerns among citizens. According to the World Bank, 96.3% of the country's revenue was spent servicing debts in 2022, which indicates that the country's expenditure is higher than revenue. Thus, the need to cut the cost of governance and redirect resources towards meeting essential needs of the populace.
Cost of governance, for me, should go beyond talking about how much you pay in salaries and wages for public officers. The cost of governance should include the cost of implementing capital projects, which is related to procurement. So we should begin to introduce more transparency and accountability in the public procurement process.
In 2021, Lagos State amended its 2007 pension laws for former governors and other political office holders, reducing their benefits and emoluments by 50%. Some of these entitlements before the amendment include 6 new cars every 3 years, a house in Lagos and Abuja, free medical care for the ex-governor and family, 100% annual basic salaries of incumbent governor, 10% annual basic salary for domestic staff, amongst others. Well, President Bola Tinubu is a former governor of Lagos State. As Nigerians are called upon to make sacrifices, public officials are also urged to be seen making these sacrifices and leading from the front.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has confirmed that it has remitted the sum of 123 billion naira to the Federation account in June, and that's the first time in 18 months. According to a statement from the state oil firm's chief financial officer, Mr. Omar Ajia, the remittance, which was paid to the Federation Account Allocation Committee last month, comprises 81 billion naira monthly interim dividend and 42 billion naira production sharing contract. He explained that the move was to consolidate the company's Post-Petroleum Industry Act PIA 2021 status as an income-generating company. Forex trading on the FMDQ exchange ended the third week of July positive as total transactions across the market rose by 6.49% to over $419 million as at July the 21st. The gain, which comes solely on the back of significant increase in value of transactions on the FX spot segment of the foreign exchange market. On the other hand, the week-on-week decrease in FX derivatives turnover was jointly driven by the $0.05 million decrease in Naira-settled exchange-traded FX futures transactions, as well as the sustained lack of activity in the Naira-settled OTC. Meanwhile, the value of the naira dropped by 2.16% week on week to 787 naira 30 kobo against the dollar at the Nigerian Autonomous Exchange fixing rate window of the forex market. The local bourse ended the third trading week on a positive note as the benchmark all-share index recorded 3.89%. That's a gain. At the same time, the market's value rose by 1.32 billion naira to close above 35 trillion naira. Sectoral performance across was broadly positive week on week as the banking index recorded the most significant increase across the counter, following gains by some Tier 1 banks on the NGX. However, the total traded volume declined by 20.3%, while the total value of stocks traded increased by 56.2%. John Holt topped a list of 73 gainers with 58% increase on his share price. FTN Coca led 18 other losers, down by 29.09%, while the trio of UBA, FCMB, and Japol Gold were the most traded equities this week. Founder of Flourish Africa, Apostle Flourish Africa, is stepping up efforts aimed at empowering women both in Nigeria and Africa at large through her various initiatives. Her target is to provide 2,500 female entrepreneurs with business training, while 500 of them will each receive up to 2 million naira in grant over a 5-year period to enable them grow their businesses. At a ceremony in Lagos, female entrepreneurs who are beneficiaries of her Flourish Africa Grant Award gathered for their graduation after a 12-week-long intensive training program. It's the second edition of the Flourish Africa Grant Award ceremony, a 1 billion naira grant initiative founded by Apostle Folorunsho Alakija to support and promote African female-owned businesses through training, mentoring, and funding. After 4 months of intensive training on business and life skills, over 500 young female entrepreneurs who are beneficiaries of the empowerment programs are here for their graduation.
We're driving globally for the equality of women. We are the difference that's going to make economic development work or fail on our continent. Women are the drivers and the champions of change.
To a fireside chat session for some of the trainees who made the 100 finalists, now beneficiaries of the 2 million naira seed grant after participating in the business pitch competition. The grant is then awarded.
In these 4 months, I have found out that much, and I'm convinced everyone in that class, the 500 of them, wanted to express themselves, wanted to say as much as possible, because we make them comfortable in an environment that also encouraged them to be the best of themselves.
Next, the graduates are finally inducted into the Flourish Africa Alumni Association.
I promise to uphold her noble ideals. And dedicate myself to further personal and intellectual development.
The seed money that we've given is just to get them started or add to the businesses of those who have already started but are trying to get to the next level but, have been stuck or something like that, and to improve on their lives and their entrepreneurship, because there are so many of them who are just doing their businesses in the way they know best and not formalizing it and getting training to do the right things and dot their I's and cross their T's and use knowledge that would improve their businesses and help them to get their businesses expanded. So it's a pleasure. to see the smiles on their faces.
There's a common joke about feeling fulfilled, and I never experienced it. And literally, I feel fulfilled and really did not expect it. I know that I put in the work, but then, there's so many other great minds on the program. So I just thought, I'll just do my best and see how it goes. And I'm so grateful to the entire team.
Flourish Africa is a platform that provides women between the ages of 18 and 50 access to information and support that will enable them grow in their chosen careers, businesses, and relationships. Congratulations to the women. Now let's find out what's happening in the world of sports. Grace Lems is standing by with the details.
Thank you, Melinda. Welcome to Sports News. World champions United States and European champions England have launched their Women's World Cup campaigns with victories. England needed a Georgia Stanway's penalty to edge past debutant Haiti, while United States defeated first-timers Vietnam 3-0, with Sophia Smith scoring a brace.
England battled to a narrow win over debutants Haiti in their opening match of the Women's World Cup in Brisbane, Australia. Georgia Stanway's penalty gave England victory despite an underwhelming performance by the European champions.
Credit to them, they put up a good fight, and I think they'll cause problems within our group. But yeah, focus back to us. You can see the style of football that we want to play. We created, we got balls in the box, we had some shots off, keeper made some good saves, and yeah, just happy that the ball got into the net.
We created chances again, but we also had moments that we lost the ball a little quicker, and then they were really quick in their counterattack. So that was pretty hard for us.
Defending champions, the United States, were far more comfortable as they easily dispatched first-timers Vietnam 3-0 in their opening game in Auckland. Sophia Smith scored twice and set up another to steal the show on her debut.
I feel good. I think it was a good starting point for our team in this tournament. I also know that we have a lot, more that we can give, a lot more to do, little things to work on. So I think it's a good place to start. And personally, it was good to just get a World Cup game under my belt, kind of see how it felt, know what to expect.
I thought we played a good game. Unfortunately, we didn't capitalize on all the opportunities, great opportunities that we created. And that's something that we're certainly going to focus on in lead up to the next game. But the first one is in the books, and the focus immediately shifts towards game 2.
The fans could not hide their excitement after watching their countries secure victories in their campaigns.
We thought we'd get more goals, but 1-0 is happy enough for me. I'm happy. We won. We'll go home. We'll go back to the Outback happy. Yes, right? We're going back to the Charmel as happy as we can be.
They played a good game. In Vietnam, these teams don't just show up and make up the numbers. They came out, they played physically, they tried to throw the U.S. off their game. In the end, the better team kind of pushed through.
But then it's still early days for England and the United States, as tricky games against Denmark and the Netherlands beckon.
Japan eased to a 5-0 win over Zambia in their Women's World Cup opener at Waikato Stadium, outclassing the debutants with a sleek display of pass and move football. Hinata Miyazawa scored twice, and Mina Tanaka found the net in the second half after having 2 early efforts called back for offside by VAR. Jun Endo added the 4th in the 71st minute, and substitute Riko Yuke got the 5th from a penalty in stoppage time after Zambia goalkeeper Catherine Musondia got a second yellow card and was sent off. Champions at the 2011 World Cup and runners-up in 2015, Japan lined up in an attacking 3-5-1 formation and looked like a team on a mission from the start. Nottingham Forest have signed Super Eagles defender Ola Aino on a free transfer after his departure from Torino. Aino agreed a 1-year contract with Nottingham Forest as he returns to the Premier League after a spell in Italy. Aino spent nearly 5 years with Torino after initially moving there on loan from Chelsea in 2018. It's the first signing of Nottingham Forest boss Steve Cooper since the end of last season. AC Milan have reached a final agreement with Villarreal over the price for Super Eagles forward Samuel Chukwueze. Reports say AC Milan have agreed to pay a total package of $31 million for Chukwueze, made up of $22 million upfront and $9 million in bonuses. The 24-year-old will sign a 4-year contract at San Siro, valid until the end of 2026 and 2027 season. AC Milan are hopeful that Chukwueze will be able to join Stefano Pioli and the rest of the Rossoneri squad in the United States to take part in the team's pre-season tour. That's it on sports. It's back to you, Melinda.
Many thanks, Chris. On the international scene, Russia has been assuring African countries that they will not lose out in spite of its withdrawal from the Black Sea grain deal. The Russian Deputy Foreign Minister, Sergei Vassiny, said Moscow is ready to reimburse the countries in most need with the approximate amount of grain that passed last year under the Black Sea Initiative. The Kremlin had complained for months that the grain deal was lopsided, allowing Ukraine grain exports, but went back on promises to allow Russian food and fertilizer exports. Under the deal brokered by the UN and Turkey, more than 32 million tons of Ukrainian grain was exported over the last year. A summit on grain supplies is to hold in St. Petersburg later this month. Thousands of people have been evacuated from homes and hotels on the Greek island of Rhodes due to wildfires. The country's fire service has described the blaze as the most difficult as it's currently facing, and it's estimated that more than 2,000 people have been moved by sea to a safer location. The island has been battling wildfires fanned by strong winds since Tuesday amid a heat wave which is taking place in Europe. It said visitors are being evacuated safely from the affected areas of Rhodes, which represent less than 10% of the island's tourist accommodation, and are being redirected to other hotels on the island. Thousands of people opposed to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's judicial overhaul march into Jerusalem today as pressure mounts on his rightist coalition to scrap a new Supreme Court bill coming up for vote in a couple of days. Marching to sounds of beating drums, protesters, several kilometers long, carried blue and white flags shouting anti-government chants and cheers. They plan to rally outside Parliament ahead of a Sunday debate and subsequent vote on the bill, which would limit the Supreme Court's powers. And the main news again. Army troops and DSS operatives today arrested one person and recovered various weapons after raiding a camp operated by members of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra in Delta State. Another case of extrajudicial killing has sparked protests in Anambra State, with family of the victim, 24-year-old Chidube Ezenwa, who allegedly died while in police custody in Okuzu, is demanding justice. The Chief of Army Staff, Major General Torid Lagbaja, has launched an emergency response initiative in Plateau State, where he sought the cooperation of residents to restore order in the violence-prone local government areas of the state. That's the news at 10 tonight. I'm Melinda Akinlami. On behalf of the team, good night.